the worst thing about this is don't try to link this to someone's deen.
Absolutely.
That doesn't make any sense. I mean, the issue, the thing is so complicated. That's why I said there should be specialists. Like, don't we have an organization called what's MPAC?
Yeah, impact.
Aren't you supposed to be doing your job? I've never hear anything from these
This
people.
is the first time I hear about
Muslim Political Action Committee or whatever, right? I think they're based out of LA. You should be based out of Washington, right? At least you should have an office there somewhere.
I mean,
just have it in Northern Virginia. The point is that I'm a common guy, right? Politics bores me. It's not in there, but I recognize something's got to be involved. You can't be in a country and just sitting there daydreaming, right? You got to be involved somehow. But you guys got to do your job. You're called MPAC. I never hear what these people do. I have no clue what these people do. And if they had done something good, I would support it, be behind it, 100%, right? And this is why when people try to make others feel guilty about, doing work, right? This is why, I don't think that's the right way to go about it, making people feel guilty when, if I wanted to get my street paved, do you know how much of the headache that is in the local township? Let alone changing these humongous institutions, right? And policies that have been in place and will continue to be in place because there are special interests a million times bigger and more powerful than you, right? Doing it. So that's why I'm a bit critical about making people feel guilty that they're not part of the political process when it's not a defined practice.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you were just saying this before, is a lot of people hate the spiritual types because they think that we're actually
the problem. Actually,
the problem.
Yeah, they think you just sit around in the masjid and pray all day. But let me tell you something. First of all, the way of prophets, they put a lot more emphasis
on the prayer,
on obeying Allah and being in line with Allah in all of our success, right? Worldly and otherworldly, right? Than anything else. Okay, and that now they all said action, okay. But prophets always gave us objective action, not something subjective, which I don't even know how to do. You know what I'm saying? Right. Which I don't know how to do. And I'm admitting I don't know how to do it. I wish MPAC would actually do something, or whoever these people are. And I told you before, like, people have always asked me, I told politics, it bores the life out of me, right? Someone else do it.
Well, I mean, you're a teacher of, we're studying the deen here.
Yeah,
if we were out busy studying politics, then we couldn't be doing this, right?
That's true.
So each person has their job, right? Each person has their specialty.
And that's why I see that tests come to us for reasons, right? We are supposed to have tests in this life. When I saw a lot of people panicking, and like I said, I want to look at it with an eye of compassion because there are people out there in Arkansas, St. Louis, Missouri, all these places. There are Muslims out these places, right?
Absolutely.
They deserve compassion because things could get violent.
Right.
There already was Trump graffiti. What did you tell me today? There was Trump graffiti.
It was at NYU.
NYU?
At the prayer, outside the prayer room, they went, like the day out, I think.
They wrote Trump?
Today, yeah, they wrote Trump on it.
SubhanAllah. I mean, that's scary, and I'm not putting that down at all, right? And to the point that, even my wife, before I left this morning, she was like, be careful when you go to work. And that's a scary thought. But at the same time, right, I was talking to my Arabic teacher. He's actually in Egypt, and he was like, he's like, it's kind of funny when I look at Americans and I see your election. He's like, he's like, even American Muslims, he's like, you guys are complaining about, this and that, somebody calling you a name out in the street. He's like, we got Sisi. He's like, we have Sisi.
For decades, these people could not go to pray Fajr regularly without thinking that you might get picked up one day.
We're better off here than we are there from a spiritual, being a Muslim.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, and forget, like, I'm from India, and there are places in India, if you're a Muslim, you can't do certain things.
Yeah, that's a norm for them, right?
Oh yeah, it's forget like, oh, somebody calling you a name because like your hijab was, you're wearing a hijab, which is rough. I understand, but come on now.
Yeah.
Right. The Sahaba.
Make a comparison.
Yeah, like let's make a comparison here, right? The prophets and the companions, right? They went through torture.
Now,
difficult.
This is the thing that without being mean or losing compassion for people who are, having feelings. Everyone has the right to have feelings, right? Without that, but I also want to make a comparison because I've actually, believe it or not, we growing up, what do you memorize in the Quran? You memorize things like Surah Al-Buruj, right? This is in Juz Amma. It's in the last Juz. Any Sunday school will cover the tafsir of the last Juz, right? And you look at Surah Al-Buruj. What does it say? They had Ashabul Ukhdud, these people of the ditch. That means in the past, if you were a part of an ethnicity that they didn't want, or a religion that they didn't want around, they dug a ditch and they got rid of you. They ethnically cleansed that area by digging a ditch, filling it with fire, and this was routine. The era, there was an epoch, an era in which people did this to other people routinely. And Allah told us they did it to the believers, and the tafsir tells us they would do it to the Jews. Pagans would do it to Jews, or we would call them Bani Israel because they were still the believing people at the time, right? They were believing in their prophets, and they would do it to the early Christians, right? And they would stop everyone at the road, at the main highway, and they would say, "Who is your God?" One simple question. If you answered that it was Allah, okay, they threw you in the ditch. They arrested you, they took you, they threw you in a ditch, and they lined them up, and one at a time pushed them into the ditch of fire. Now think about this. I'm a 11-year-old kid, 12-year-old kid. I'm reading this in the Quran. I'm sitting repeatedly reciting Ashabul Ukhdud, right? An-nari dhat al-waqud, idhum alayha qu'ud, which means the fire, filled with enough wood to light it up. Idhum alayha qu'ud. They're sitting there, looking at this fire, right? وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود. Okay, and they're just then pushed one after the other into this, and I'm thinking to myself, this makes me think, we got problems, right?
Well, we don't have problems.
We don't got no problems, right? So Allah Azza wa Jal has already taken us to the extent. He's shown us what the spectrum is. And the problem is, right, is when we forget what the spectrum is. And not only that, not only did that happen to them, look at how they responded. Of the few babies that ever spoke, is one woman who thought to herself, I just have a newborn baby. Maybe if I say that I worship their God, then I run away and I raise my son and we worship Allah together. Makes sense, right? Which is in our religion is called what? Taqiyya. It's halal. This is the taqiyya that's halal.
Right.
Okay? Where you're going to be killed for your iman, you could tell a lie. And you have the baby. So what does this baby speak and say? He said, no. The baby said, no. Say Allah and Allah will take care of us. He said Allah and they both went in there. Right? They both got pushed in the fire. And they went to Jannah. So it goes to show us, right? Not only did they suffer something great, and Allah put it in the surah that the children memorize, so that we have a perspective here of what troubles and problems really are, but also they took it with pride.